Maya had spent the last 6 years of her life behind a reception desk, and she was good at it, really good. She knew exactly how to transfer calls without cutting people off, how to smile at stressed-out performers rushing to rehearsals, and how to keep the coffee machine running even when it decided to have a meltdown on the busiest days. The Riverside Performing Arts Center was her second home, and in many ways, she'd become invisible there. Just another face in the background while the real magic happened on stage. But here's the thing. Nobody knew about Maya every single day. While she sat at that desk checking people in and answering the same questions over and over, she was studying them. The way dancers carried themselves when they walked through those doors. The breathing techniques singers used right before they went on stage. The confidence that seemed to radiate from people who knew they belonged in the spotlight. She absorbed it all like a sponge, filing it away in her mind for later. At 32 years old, Maya had a secret that would have made her coworkers laugh if they knew. She'd been taking online performing classes for the past 2 years. Not the expensive fancy kind, just whatever she could afford on her receptionist salary. She practiced in her tiny apartment every night after work, sometimes until her neighbors banged on the walls telling her to keep it down. Her living room had become her private stage, and her bathroom mirror had heard more performances than most small theaters. The dream had always been there, sitting quiet in her chest since she was a little girl. But life had a way of pushing dreams aside. Bills needed paying. Her mom needed help with medical expenses. And somewhere along the way, Maya had convinced herself that dreaming was for other people. People who started young. People who had money for proper training. People who didn't have responsibilities. Then came the announcement that changed everything. The center's annual showcase was opening for auditions. And for the first time in 5 years, they were accepting submissions from anyone. Not just professionals or students from elite schools. Anyone with talent and courage could try out. Maya stared at that announcement on her computer screen for 3 whole days. Her finger hovered over the application form so many times she lost count. Each time, that little voice in her head whispered the same things. You're too old. You're not trained properly. You work the front desk, for crying out loud. Who do you think you are? But on the 3rd day, something shifted. Maybe it was watching. Another group of performers walked past her desk like she didn't exist. Maybe it was tired of being invisible. Or maybe she just finally got angry enough at that voice in her head to tell it to shut up. Whatever it was, she filled out that application and hit submit before she could change her mind. Her hands were shaking so badly. She had to put her phone down. The next morning at work, everything seemed normal until break time. Maya was in the staff room making tea when she heard her name. Actually, she heard laughing first, then her name. She turned to find 3 of her coworkers clustered around someone's phone, and her stomach dropped. No way, Derek was saying. He was the assistant manager, the kind of guy who thought his title made him more important than he actually was. Maya Rodriguez actually submitted an audition. Our Maya? Let me see that. Jennifer grabbed the phone. She handled donor relations and had perfected the art of the fake smile. Oh, honey, this is just sad. She's serious about this? Maya felt her face get hot. The audition list was public, posted for everyone to see. Of course, they'd found her name. She thought about slipping out of the staff room quietly, but her feet wouldn't move. Maya, sweetie, Jennifer spotted her, and her voice dripped with that particular kind of pity that felt worse than insults. We saw you signed up for auditions. That's so brave of you. Brave? The way she said it made it sound like the opposite of a compliment. Derek didn't even bother with fake kindness. You? Perform? Come on, Maya, you answer phones. That's what you do. Leave the performing to actual artists. He said it like he was stating an obvious fact, like telling someone the sky is blue. I've been practicing, Maya heard herself say, and immediately wished she hadn't. Her voice came out smaller than she wanted. Practicing, Derek repeated, and the way he smirked made something twist in her gut. Look, I'm just trying to help you here. You're going to embarrass yourself. These judges are professionals. They can spot an amateur in 2 seconds. The worst part was that other people were nodding, agreeing, like it was the most reasonable, thing in the world to tell someone to stop trying. Linda, her direct supervisor, pulled her aside later that afternoon. Linda was 50-something and always wore cardigans that looked like they came from a catalog. She put her hand on Maya's shoulder with this concerned expression that somehow made everything worse. "Maya, I've worked here for 15 years, so I'm telling you this as a friend." She started, and Maya already knew she wasn't going to like what came next. "At your age, with no formal training, you're setting yourself up for heartbreak. These auditions are competitive. The people who try out have been training since they were children. They have degrees from prestigious schools. They have experience you just don't have." "I know I started late," Maya began, but Linda cut her off. "It's not just that you started late, honey. It's that this isn't realistic. You're good at what you do here. You're reliable, you're pleasant with people, you keep everything running smoothly. That's a skill too. Why not focus on what you're actually good at? Maybe there are advancement opportunities in administration you could explore instead." Maya nodded and mumbled something about thinking about it, just to get Linda to stop talking. But inside she felt something crumbling. These weren't strangers on the internet. These were people she saw every single day, people she'd worked alongside for years. And they couldn't even imagine her as anything other than the receptionist. That night, Maya sat in her apartment staring at her phone. She could withdraw her application. Nobody would blame her. In fact, everyone would probably be relieved. She could go back to being invisible, being safe, being exactly what everyone expected her to be. She pulled up the application portal, and her finger hovered over the withdraw button. It would be so easy. Just one click and she could forget this whole thing happened. But then she caught her reflection in her bathroom mirror. The same mirror where she'd practiced countless times, where she'd worked on her breathing, where she'd imagined herself on an actual stage instead of her bathroom tiles. She thought about all those nights staying up late, all those online classes she'd saved up for, all those moments she'd poured her heart into something that mattered to her. And she thought about that little girl she used to be, the one who would stand in her bedroom and pretend her hairbrush was a microphone, the one who believed anything was possible before the world taught her to think smaller. Maya closed the application portal without withdrawing. Instead, she stood up, faced her mirror, and started her warm-up exercises. Her voice filled the small apartment, shaky at first, then stronger. Let them laugh, let them doubt. Let them think she was foolish for trying. She was doing this anyway. The audition was in 2 weeks, and she had work to do. The 2 weeks leading up to the audition felt like both forever and no time at all. Maya practiced until her voice went hoarse, then practiced some more. She watched every tutorial video she could find about audition techniques. She picked out an outfit, changed her mind, picked another one, then went back to the first. She barely slept the night before, running through her performance in her head over and over until the sun came up. Audition day arrived on a Saturday, which meant Maya didn't have to pretend to work while her stomach was doing backflips. She got to the Riverside Performing Arts Center 2 hours early, which was ridiculous, but sitting at home felt impossible. The building looked different somehow, even though she'd walked through these doors hundreds of times. Today she wasn't going to her desk. Today she was going to the stage. The waiting area was already filling up with performers. Maya recognized some of them. There was Chelsea, who'd been in 3 productions last year and moved like she was born dancing. There was Robert, whose voice could probably shatter glass in the best possible way. These were people who belonged here. People who trained at actual schools and had headshots that looked professional. Maya clutched her folder with her sheet music and tried not to feel like she was about to throw up. Well, that voice made her shoulders tense up. Derek had shown up along with Jennifer and a couple other staff members. They weren't auditioning. They were here to watch. Or more specifically, to watch Maya fail. "Didn't think you'd actually go through with it," Derek said, loud enough that several performers turned to look. "Gotta give you credit for showing up, at least." Jennifer was recording on her phone, not even trying to hide it. "This is going to be something," she whispered to Derek, but Maya heard it anyway. She was meant to hear it. Maya wanted to disappear. She wanted to walk right back out those doors and forget this whole thing. Her hands were shaking so badly that her sheet music rattled. What was she thinking? These people were right. She was a receptionist. She answered phones and made coffee and kept the schedule organized. That's what she was good at, Maya Rodriguez. A woman with a clipboard called her name. You're up next. Her legs moved on their own, carrying her toward the stage entrance. She could hear Derek say something behind her and Jennifer's giggle in response. The other performers were watching now too, probably wondering who this random person was. Maya had checked people in for auditions before. She knew how this worked from the other side. She knew the judges had a list and they went through it fast, spending maybe 3 minutes on each person before making their decision. 3 minutes to prove she wasn't crazy for trying. The stage was exactly as she'd imagined it during all those nights. Practicing in her apartment, except bigger. So much bigger. The lights were bright enough that she could barely see the judges sitting in the middle of the auditorium, but she knew who they were. Carol Washington, the artistic director who'd been running this place for 20 years. 2 choreographers Maya had served coffee to more times than she could count. A vocal instructor who looked perpetually unimpressed with everything dot and scattered in the seats behind them. Her coworkers, watching, waiting for her to confirm everything they already believed about her. Maya walked to center stage and handed her sheet music to the accompanist, an older man who gave her a kind smile. That small gesture of normalcy helped somehow. She took her position and tried to remember everything. She'd practiced breathing, posture, confidence. The music started. For a horrible, terrible second, nothing came out. Her throat closed up and her mind went completely blank. She could feel everyone staring. She could imagine Derek's smirk, Jennifer's phone recording every moment of this disaster. Then something shifted inside her. Maybe it was anger. Maybe it was stubbornness. Maybe it was just being so tired of making herself small to fit into other people's comfortable little boxes. She thought about every single time someone had made her feel invisible. Every time she'd been talked over in meetings like her ideas didn't matter. Every time someone had treated her like she was just part of the furniture. Every dismissive laugh and every pitying look in every person who decided what she was capable of without ever really seeing her, and she let it all pour out. Her voice came out, stronger than it ever had in her apartment. The song she'd chosen was about transformation, about becoming something people didn't expect, and she sang it like she was telling her own story. Because she was. Every word was true. Every note carried the weight of years of dreaming in silence. Maya moved across the stage, not with the polished grace of someone who'd trained for decades, but with genuine emotion that couldn't be faked. She hit the high notes she'd practiced 1,000 times, but this time they meant something different. This time they weren't just technical exercises. They were proof that she'd worked for this, that she'd earned the right to be standing here. The auditorium had gone completely silent. Even the whispers from the back row had stopped. She could see Carol Washington sitting up straighter in her seat, her expression changing from polite attention to something else. Something like surprise? The other judges had stopped writing notes and were actually watching. Really watching, not just going through the motions. Maya forgot about the people who'd come to see her fail. She forgot about being nervous and wondering if she was good enough. For 3 minutes and 42 seconds, she wasn't the receptionist anymore. She was exactly who she'd always known she could be, if anyone had bothered to look. The final note hung in the air. Maya held it, let it fill the space, then let it fade away naturally. Silence. Complete, total silence. Maya's heart sank. She'd messed up somehow. They hated it. This was exactly what Derek had predicted, and now she'd have to walk off this stage and face all of them. And Carol Washington stood up. She actually stood up from her seat, something Maya had never seen her do during preliminary auditions. The artistic director was known for staying seated, for keeping her reactions carefully neutral until final decisions were made. "Where?" Carol said, her voice carrying across the auditorium. "Have you been hiding?" Maya blinked. I work here, at the front desk." "I know where you work," Carol said, and there was something in her voice that made Maya's pulse race. What I want to know is why I'm only hearing you sing now. Why haven't you auditioned before? I didn't think I was ready, Maya admitted. Her voice smaller than it had been moments ago. One of the choreographers leaned over to whisper something to Carol. The vocal instructor was scribbling notes furiously. Maya tried to read their expressions but couldn't. Carol looked at her for a long moment. Well, you're ready now. Thank you, Maya. We'll post results on Monday. Maya nodded and walked off stage on legs that felt like they might give out any second. Her heart was pounding so hard she could hear it in her ears. She couldn't tell if that had gone well or if she'd just made a fool of herself. Carol standing up had to mean something, right? Or maybe it didn't. Maybe she was just stretching her legs. She grabbed her bag from the waiting area and headed for the exit, not looking at anyone. She couldn't deal with Derek's comments right now. Couldn't handle Jennifer's fake sympathy or anyone else's opinions. But as she passed, she noticed something. Derek wasn't smirking anymore. His mouth was actually hanging open a little. Jennifer had stopped recording. The other performers in the waiting area were looking at her differently. Like they were trying to figure out who she was. Maya pushed through the doors and out into the parking lot, where she sat in her car for 10 full minutes just trying to process what had just happened. She'd done it. Whatever happened next, whatever the judges decided, she'd actually done it. She'd stood on that stage and sang her heart out in front of everyone. Who said she see OULDN single quotes. Her phone buzzed with a text from Linda. That was actually quite good. I'm surprised. Maya stared at the message. Not, you were amazing, or I'm proud of you. Just surprised. Like it was shocking that the receptionist could do anything other than answer phones. She deleted the message without responding, started her car and drove home. Monday would come soon enough, and with it, the results that would either validate her courage or confirm everyone's doubts. But right now, in this moment, she let herself feel something she hadn't felt in a very long time. Pride, pure, uncomplicated pride in herself for trying. Monday morning felt like it lasted about 17 years. Maya went through the motions at work, checking people in, answering calls, making sure the coffee station stayed stocked. But her mind was somewhere else entirely. The results were supposed to be posted by noon, and every time someone walked past her desk, she jumped. Derek had been weird all morning. Not his usual cocky self, but not apologetic either. Just quiet. He'd mumbled a morning when he arrived and then disappeared into his office. Jennifer kept looking at her with this expression Maya couldn't quite read. Like she wanted to say something but didn't know what. At 11:47, Maya's phone buzzed. An email from Carol Washington. Her hand shook so badly she almost dropped the phone trying to open it. The email was short. Please come to my office at noon. We need to discuss your audition. That was it. No congratulations or thank you for trying or any hint about whether this was good news or bad news. Just a summons to Carol's office, the same office Maya had only been inside maybe twice in 6 years, both times to drop off paperwork. The 30 minutes until noon were torture. Maya tried to prepare herself for rejection. She'd tried, and that was what mattered, right? At least she'd know she gave it her best shot. At least she wouldn't spend the rest of her life wondering what if. At exactly noon. She knocked on Carol's door. Come in, Carol's voice called out. The artistic director was behind her desk, but she wasn't alone. The 2 choreographers from the audition were there too, along with someone Maya didn't recognize. A man in his 50s with salt and pepper hair and an expression that suggested he didn't smile much. Sit down, Maya, Carol said, gesturing to a chair. Maya sat. Her heart was beating so loud she was sure everyone could hear it. Carol folded her hands on her desk and looked at Maya with an intensity that made her want to squirm. I'm going to be direct with you because I think you can handle it. Your audition on Saturday was rough around the edges. Your technique needs work. Your stage presence, while natural, lacks polish. You have habits that will need to be broken and rebuilt. Maya's heart sank. Here it came. The gentle letdown. The "you're not quite ready" speech. However, Carol continued, and that one word made Maya's breath catch. You have something that can't be taught. Raw talent combined with genuine emotion. When you sang on that stage, everyone in that room felt it. That's rare, Maya, extremely rare. One of the choreographers leaned forward. We want you in the showcase. Not just as a participant. We want you to open the show. Maya's brain stuttered to a stop. I'm sorry, what? The opening performance, Carol repeated. It's a solo spot. 5 minutes on stage, just you, setting the tone for the entire evening. We reserve it for performers we think have real potential. But I work here, Maya said stupidly, like that was somehow relevant. I'm the receptionist. And now you're also going to be a performer, Carol said. Unless you're turning down the opportunity? No, Maya said quickly. No, I just ... I can't believe this is real. The man with the salt and pepper hair spoke for the first time. His voice was deep and carried the weight of someone who didn't waste words. Don't get too excited yet? Opening the showcase is an honor, but it's also a massive responsibility. You have 6 weeks to get ready, and based on what I saw Saturday, you need every single one of those weeks. This is Vincent Torres, Carol introduced him. He's one of the best vocal coaches in the state. He's trained people who've gone on to perform on Broadway, in opera houses, on international stages. He's agreed to work with you, but I'm warning you now, he doesn't go easy on anyone. Vincent looked at Maya with eyes that seemed to see right through her. I'm going to push you harder than you've ever been pushed in your life. If you're looking for someone to tell you you're wonderful and pat you on the back, I'm not your guy. I'm here to make you better, and the process isn't going to be comfortable. I can handle it, Maya said, though she wasn't entirely sure that was true. We'll see, Vincent said. First session is tomorrow at 5 in the morning. Studio B, don't be late. 5 in the morning? Maya repeated. I have to be at work at 8. Then I suggest you manage your time well, Vincent said without a trace of sympathy. You want to be a performer? This is what it takes. The meeting ended with Carol handing her a schedule that made Maya's head spin. Training sessions before work, during her lunch break, and after her shift ended. Rehearsals on weekends. Technique work, choreography sessions, breathing exercises, everything packed into 6 weeks that suddenly felt way too short. Word spread through the riverside, performing Arts Center faster than wildfire. By the time Maya got back to her desk, everyone knew. The receptionist had not only made it into the showcase, she was opening it. The impossible had happened. The reactions were all over the place. Some people were genuinely happy for her. Chelsea, one of the performers from the audition, stopped by her desk to congratulate her. That took guts. I'm looking forward to seeing what you do. Others were less gracious. Maya overheard a conversation in the hallway between two dancers who'd been with the center for years. I can't believe Carol gave her the opening slot. She's barely trained. There are people who've been working toward this for years. Carol's probably just trying to make some kind of point, the other one said. Inspiration story or whatever. She crash and burn, and then things will go back to normal. Linda pulled her aside with that same concerned expression she always wore. Maya, honey, I hope you know what you're getting into. Vincent Torres has a reputation. He's made grown professionals cry. And juggling this with your full-time job? I just don't want to see you burn out. But it was Derek who really got under her skin. He cornered her at the coffee machine that afternoon, and for once he wasn't smirking. He actually looked annoyed. So you got lucky, he said. Carol's known for taking chances on people. But here's the thing, Mia, this center has a reputation. When you fall flat on your face opening night, and you will, it reflects on all of us. I hope you realize that. Thanks for the vote of confidence, Maya said, keeping her voice steady even though she wanted to scream at him. I'm just being realistic, Derek said. 6 weeks isn't enough time to fix years of missing training. You're going to embarrass yourself and everyone who works here. Maya grabbed her coffee and walked away before she said something she'd regret. But his words stuck with her for the rest of the day. What if he was right? What if she was in over her head? What if she'd just set herself up for the most public failure of her life? That night, she could barely sleep. She kept thinking about the morning, about meeting Vincent, about starting this journey that suddenly felt terrifying and exciting in equal measure. her alarm went off. At 4:15 a.m., Maya dragged herself out of bed, drank coffee that tasted like regret, and drove to the center in the pre-dawn darkness. Studio B was on the second floor, a medium-sized rehearsal space with mirrors covering one wall and a piano in the corner. Vincent was already there, looking just as intimidating as he had in Carol's office. "You're 3 minutes early," he said. "Good, being on time is being late." He had her start with vocal warm-ups, and within 5 minutes, he'd stopped her 4 times to correct her breathing, her posture, her resonance. Everything she thought she'd learned from her online classes was apparently wrong. "You're breathing from here," he said, pointing to her chest. "That's going to shred your voice. Breathe from your diaphragm, again." They went through the same scale 15 times before he was satisfied. By the time they finished the 2-hour session, Maya felt like she'd run a marathon. Her legs hurt from holding proper posture. Her abs ached from breathing correctly. Her throat was tired in a completely different way than she was used to. "Tomorrow, same time," Vincent said as she gathered her things. "And I want you doing these breathing exercises for 20 minutes before bed tonight." "Every night." "Okay," Maya managed. "One more thing," Vincent said as she reached the door. "Everyone's going to have an opinion about whether you belong on that stage. Other performers, your coworkers, people in the audience. None of that matters. The only opinion that counts is yours and mine. You think you can do this?" Maya thought about Derek's words, about the dancers who thought she didn't deserve this, about every person who'd ever made her feel like she should stay in her lane. "Yes," she said. "I can do this." "Then prove it," Vincent said. "See you tomorrow." Maya drove to work exhausted but strangely energized. She had 5 weeks and 6 days left until opening night. 5 weeks and 6 days to transform from a receptionist who dreamed into a performer who delivered. The real work was just beginning, and Maya had no idea if she was strong enough to handle what was coming. But she was going to find out. 3 weeks into training, Maya's life had become a blur of exhaustion and determination. She was running on 4 hours of sleep most nights, sometimes less. The schedule was brutal. Up at 4:15 for training with Vincent at 5. Work from 8 to 5. Lunch break spent in Studio B working on choreography. After work, more rehearsals until 9 or 10 at night. Then home to practice breathing exercises, review notes, and collapse into bed only to do it all over again. Her body was starting to rebel. Her voice felt scratchy some mornings. Her legs ached constantly from the dance work. She'd lost weight because she kept forgetting to eat proper meals, grabbing protein bars and coffee instead. Her friends had stopped calling because she never had time to answer. Her apartment was a mess. Her life was a mess, but she was getting better. She could hear it, feel it. The techniques Vincent drilled into her were becoming second nature. Her breathing was stronger. Her range had expanded. The choreographer had stopped correcting every single movement. She was actually starting to look like she belonged on that stage. The problem was, everyone else was getting better too. The showcase rehearsals had started, which meant Maya finally got to see the other performers' pieces. And they were incredible. These were people who'd been training their entire lives, who moved like water and sang like angels. Every rehearsal reminded Maya that she was the odd one out, the amateur who'd somehow stumbled into their professional world. Derek made sure she never forgot it either. He'd started attending rehearsals, claiming he needed to coordinate logistics, but really he just wanted to watch and comment. "That transition looked rough," he'd say loudly enough for everyone to hear. Opening performers usually nail those basics. Maya tried to ignore him, tried to focus on her own work, but doubt had a way of creeping in during the quiet moments. Late at night, when she was too tired to sleep, she'd lie awake wondering if everyone was right. Maybe she was a fraud. Maybe Carol had made a mistake. Maybe she'd gotten lucky at the audition and couldn't actually deliver when it counted. The breaking point came on a Wednesday. 3 weeks before opening night. Maya had been up since 4 a.m. for her session with Vincent. Worked a full shift where nothing went right. Grabbed a granola bar for lunch while running through choreography, and then headed into evening rehearsal. She was exhausted before she even started, but she pushed through because that's what you did. You pushed through. They were working on the finale of her piece, a section that required her to hit a high note while moving across the stage. She'd done it before, but today her body just wasn't cooperating. Her legs felt heavy. Her breathing was off. The note came out thin and wobbly. Again, the choreographer called out. Maya went back to her mark and tried again. Worse this time. She could feel everyone watching, could sense their judgment even if they weren't saying anything. Take a breath and reset, the choreographer said, trying to be patient, but Maya couldn't reset. She couldn't get her breathing right. The room started spinning a little. She tried to push through it, tried to start the sequence again, but her legs gave out halfway through. She didn't exactly collapse dramatically. It was more like her body just decided it was done and sort of folded in on itself. 1 second she was moving, the next she was on the floor, the room tilting sideways, her vision going spotty. Maya! Someone rushed over. Maybe Chelsea. Maybe the choreographer. Maya couldn't tell because everything sounded like it was underwater. They got her to a chair. Someone brought water. Vincent appeared from somewhere, his usual stern expression replaced with actual concern. The choreographer was on the phone, probably calling Carol. When did you last eat a real meal? Vincent asked. Maya tried to remember. Breakfast had been coffee. Lunch was that granola bar. Dinner the night before was... She couldn't remember. I'm fine, she said, but her voice came out weak. Just give me a minute. You're not fine, Vincent said flatly. You're running yourself into the ground. Carol arrived 10 minutes later, took one look at Maya, and called off the rest of rehearsal. She and Vincent helped Maya to Carol's office, where they made her sit down and actually drink water and eat the sandwich Carol had someone bring from the cafe down the street. Maya started crying halfway through the sandwich, which was embarrassing and made everything worse. She was sitting in the artistic director's office, crying like a child, probably ruining everything. I'm sorry, she kept saying. I'm so sorry. I can do this. I just need to work harder. Work harder? Vincent's voice was sharp. Maya, you're working yourself to death. That's not dedication, that's destruction. But everyone else makes it look easy, Maya said through tears. Everyone else has been training forever and I'm just trying to catch up and I don't want to let anyone down and Derek keeps saying I'm going to fail and maybe he's right. Maybe I can't do this. Maybe everyone was right from the beginning and I'm just the receptionist who got lucky once and doesn't actually belong on that stage. The words came pouring out. All the doubt and fear and exhaustion she'd been holding in for weeks. It felt like admitting defeat, but she was too tired to pretend anymore. Carol and Vincent exchanged a look. Then Carol pulled up a chair and sat across from Maya. Can I tell you something? Carol said, When I started out, I was terrible. I mean, genuinely awful. I wanted to be a performer so badly and I had zero natural talent. But I worked like a demon because I thought that's what it took. I practiced until my feet bled. I pushed through injuries. I ignored everyone who told me to take a break. What happened? Maya asked. I burned out at 23, Carol said. Completely fell apart. Had to take a year off from performing. And when I came back, I realized something important. This industry doesn't reward people who destroy themselves. It rewards people who are sustainable, who understand that taking care of yourself is part of the work, not separate from it. Vincent leaned against the desk. You know what separates dreamers from performers, Maya? It's not talent. It's not how many hours you can push yourself. It's knowing the difference between discipline and punishment. What you're doing to yourself right now, that's punishment. Everyone's watching me, Maya said quietly, waiting for me to fail. I can't give them that satisfaction. Who's everyone? Carol asked. Derek? A couple of dancers who are jealous they didn't get the opening slot? Maya, there are always going to be people who want you to fail. Always. The question is, who are you performing for? Maya didn't have an answer to that. She'd been so focused on proving everyone wrong, on showing Derek and Jennifer and Linda and all the doubters that they'd underestimated her, that she'd forgotten why she started this in the first place. "I've been in this industry for 30 years, Carol continued. "You know what I've learned? The performers who last, the ones who really make it, aren't the ones trying to prove something to their critics. They're the ones performing for themselves, for the love of it. Your colleagues doubted you because your passion threatened their comfort. They chose safety. You chose courage. That's already made you more of an artist than most people in this building." Something shifted in Maya as she sat there, exhausted and tearful, in Carol's office. She'd been carrying everyone else's doubts like they were her responsibility, wearing their skepticism like heavy armor she thought would protect her, but it was just weighing her down. "What do I do?" Maya asked. "First, you go home and sleep for 12 hours, Carol said. "No arguments. Tomorrow, we restructure your schedule. You're no good to anyone if you collapse on stage opening night. Second," Vincent added, "you stop trying to be perfect. Stop trying to match everyone else's journey. You have 3 weeks left. That's not enough time to become someone else, but it's plenty of time to become the best version of yourself." They sent her home with strict instructions. No practice that night, sleep, real food. A day off. Maya felt guilty the entire drive home, like she was being lazy, like she was wasting precious time. But when she finally crawled into bed at 7 p.m., her body basically shut down. She slept for 14 hours straight. Darkness, silence. For one terrible second, Maya thought she'd messed up somehow. The audience was too quiet. They hated it. She'd failed after all. The theater exploded. The applause hit her like a physical wave. People weren't just clapping, they were on their feet. All of them. 800 people standing up, applauding, and Maya just stood there in the darkness trying to process what was happening. The lights came back up for her bow. Maya could barely see through the tears in her eyes, but she saw enough. Her mom was openly crying, clapping so hard it probably hurt. Chelsea and the other performers were visible in the wings, giving her thumbs up and huge smiles. And there, in the 10th row, Derek's mouth was hanging open. Jennifer had stopped clapping and was just staring. Linda looked like she couldn't quite believe what she'd just witnessed. Maya bowed, trying to be graceful about it even though her hands were shaking. The applause continued. Carol had told her opening performers usually got about 30 seconds of applause. This had to be at least 2 minutes. Finally, the house lights dimmed again, signaling the next performance. And Maya walked off stage on legs that felt like they might give out. Vincent was waiting in the wings. He didn't say anything, just nodded once. For him, that was basically a standing ovation. The rest of the showcase was incredible. Every performer brought their best, and Maya watched from backstage, genuinely enjoying it instead of comparing herself to everyone else. She was part of this now. Actually part of it, not just the person who worked the front desk after the final curtain call when all the performers came out together for bows. The artistic director did something unexpected. She called Maya forward, separate from the group, and the audience gave her another round of applause. Maya saw Derek leaving early, probably couldn't handle watching anymore. But she also saw so many other people on their feet, celebrating not just her performance but what it represented. Later, in the lobby during the reception, people kept stopping her. Strangers who'd been in the audience, telling her how much her performance moved them. A woman in her 50s with tears in her eyes said, "I gave up on my dreams 20 years ago. Watching you tonight made me wonder if it's too late to try again." "It's not," Maya told her, and meant it. Carol found her near the end of the night. "3 companies have already asked about you. They want to know if you're available for upcoming productions." She handed Maya a business card. "This is serious, Maya. You could actually do this professionally if you want." Maya looked at the card, then at Carol. "I don't know what I want yet. A week ago, I was just hoping not to embarrass myself." "Well, you did significantly better than that," Carol said with a rare smile. "Take your time. Figure out what feels right. But know that you've got options now. You've earned them." On Monday morning, Maya went back to work at the reception desk. Some things had changed. Derek barely looked at her, mumbled something that might have been congratulations, then disappeared. Linda was overly friendly in that awkward way people get when they've underestimated someone. Jennifer actually apologized, sort of, in a roundabout way that didn't quite acknowledge what she'd done, but the biggest change was in Maya herself. She sat at that desk answering phones and checking people in, and for the first time in 6 years, she didn't feel invisible. She'd proven something important, not to Derek or Jennifer or anyone else, but to herself. She'd proven that other people's doubt didn't define her limits. That starting late didn't mean starting never. That courage wasn't about being unafraid. It was about being afraid and trying anyway. 3 weeks later, Maya gave her 2 weeks' notice. One of those companies had made her an offer she couldn't refuse. She was going to be a performer for real this time. Getting paid to do what she loved. Her last day at the Riverside Performing Arts Center. Maya took one final look at the reception desk, where she'd spent 6 years dreaming. Then she walked through those doors, not as the receptionist, but as the artist she'd always known she could be. She'd turned their mockery into fuel, their doubts into determination, and their words into a performance that changed her life. And that was a story worth telling.